Hi, Kevin. I'm Grace.
Hey, Grace. I'm Kevin Karner from the Shared Use Mobility Center, and I've got a slide deck about financial sustainability planning. I hear you might be interested in that.
Yeah, I've been reading a lot in the IM about financial sustainability for the project. Like I'm seeing that phrase come up a lot, and I see that I need to have a financial sustainability plan. What is it? What is that plan?
That's a good question. Well, the financial sustainability section of the application is really questions 26 through 29. It's concerned with strategies for maintaining your service for at least 4 years, strategies to help keep your service going, even if it has to change operators, and also 5 kinds of community resource contributions that are required. And we can go into that a little bit later.
Okay.
So the first thing that you want to think about is really what your community wants. Sometimes that's called, a value proposition in business planning. But that's really all that is really making sure that folks are going to want to use the service, especially after a few years after the voucher funding term. Really, the community needs assessment has questions in it about, trying to understand what makes people want to use the service and how that service can be kept affordable.
Okay, great. Yeah, we did an extensive outreach and engagement process, and we did hear a lot about, what people wanted as the service and what they were comfortable paying, what financial models they were thinking about. But I just want to make sure I'm pretty clear. What are some of the options? Because people actually didn't really know. They're familiar with what's casually talked about by rideshare service or like an on-demand service, but we don't know how to set up our model. What can we do? Like what might work for us? What are the 3 options? What are the options?
Totally. Well, this isn't a complete list by any means, but really the first thing, all the projects are going to need to have this business to consumer component, right? So that's just to say that folks in some way will need to pay for the service and through user fees. And there are a few different ways that mobility services usually go about this. The first one, and I think everybody would recognize this, is just pay as you go. So that's like when you get on a bus, you pay for a single trip, or to ride a bike share, oftentimes you'll need to pay for that 30 minutes or whatever it is. Another method that you see a lot is subscription pricing. Sometimes that's, most of the times that's really just a membership fee of some kind. That's something that is there and it's reoccurring over some time period, and that gives you access to the service. You see that a lot in bike sharing and also sort of conventional round trip car sharing. And then bundled pricing is a little bit more nuanced, but I think people would also sort of understand this in a transit context, like a fare card. If you buy a monthly fare pass, you could ride that as much as you wanted. It's basically like unlimited value, but you are basically paying for maybe, say, 20 rides or something, or the equivalent of 20 rides. And so that's an example of like a bundled discount.
Yeah, I think my community is very familiar with that. Our transit service offers that, and people know about it. It's just getting people to the transit station that we're trying to figure out. So I see these other ones. What are the sponsorships? What are subsidies? What is advertising? What is like grants? How could I package this into my project? Can I do sponsorships? What is this?
Yeah, well, so in addition to the user fees, most transportation services, really just about every transportation service, is a little industry secret. They don't pay for themselves just through user fees. If they did, the cost would be way too high, and I don't think people would a lot of people wouldn't feel comfortable with that. And so there are other ways that you can bring in secondary sources of revenue to help offset some of that and maintain affordability. One way is through sponsorships. So that can be anything from like a station level sponsor sometimes, like you see that in bike share, that say like this parking space is brought to you by, or sometimes that's like called a title sponsorship, where it's the whole system. And so like in the Bay Area, there used to be Ford Go Bike, and now it's Bay Wheels Bike. But in that case, Ford was the title sponsor.
Okay. Like
That's
city
really
bikes
an
in New York,
important thing.
right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And then in other cases, you have various kinds of subsidies. That could be in the case of like a microtransit service. That's being partially paid for by the transit agency because it would maybe otherwise cost too much for them to run like a regular bus. And so it's something with an app that is on demand. That's also a really popular thing in ride pooling for carpools or van pools.
Okay.
The IRS, for instance, allows employers to subsidize up to 50% of the cost of a pooled service that helps their employees get to work.
Oh, okay. So our big regional employer might be interested in doing this. Okay. Interesting.
Yeah,
We'll go
and
check
then
that
you
piece
have
out.
advertising, which in some of the with some of the operators in the Clean Mobility Provider Directory,
Mm-hmm.
a couple of them utilize like ads on the side of the vehicles. That's kind of a new concept,
Hmm.
or on like the charging station.
Hmm.
But then you can also have something like I mentioned earlier, like at a bus stop. You probably don't even notice them, but all the time there are ads in the shelters. So that's a really common method as well. And then in addition to those, you can also look for grants. And on the right, I have a few sources that are California-based that I found to be really helpful when doing some of my own research on this.
Okay.
One is CARB's Funding Wizard, which is a new tool that they're just getting up and running. A group of organizations and the California Energy Commission have Empower Innovation, which also includes some philanthropic sources, which is great.
Oh,
And
cool.
then the Local Government Commission even has funding navigation, which was also terrific.
Nice. Okay. I will go check those out. So you mentioned resource contributions and you said you would talk about that. What are those? And, how could I leverage those in addition to, the few that, the fee for service, the sponsorship, advertising, grants?
Yeah,
How does resource contributions contribute to my project?
well, a third tip in the project design guide is really about building a local support network to address some of these things, some of the questions earlier. And so I think it was question 28 is, what are your community resource contributions? And the application requires 5 of them,
Okay.
which may seem like a lot, but they can take all sorts of forms. That could be just a direct funding match, could be volunteer time, could be donated equipment, or it could be just like assistance, setting up and building relationships in the community between partners on an application. We have a few case studies at the Shared Use Mobility Center of
Mm-hmm.
other CARB-funded projects. This is one example, Green Rancheros in the Central Valley, that was able to, use both a state grant and donated equipment and volunteer time to put together their service.
Oh, wow. Okay. I'll go
Yeah,
check that out.
yeah. And then another, important feature of a local support network is making sure that you have a plan in case the service has to stop or a partner has to, leave.
Oh,
That is, the idea is to like maintain the value of your service that you determined in the needs assessment, but maybe under some sort of alternative arrangement. So that could be like donating the vehicles to like a local social service agency. It could be,
okay.
repurposing them or making like the charters available for free or at a discount to folks in the community. A lot of different ways you can go about it, and it's kind of unique to each individual project. So that's something that you'll want to research as well.
Okay. So I only need to have an outline of what I think I might need to do if the project ends early, or do I need to also articulate this for after after my operations like after I see that it's a 5-year project window, or 5-year commitment for the project. Do I have to have this, dissolution plan, as you're calling it, for that time frame after?
Yeah, the idea is that it's the plan that is, in place for the project in general. And obviously, it's hard to know all the details in advance. And sometimes, it's maybe good to not know. Maybe some options will become clear over time. And so as long as if you're thinking about it and that's been a discussion, in your team, that's really what is important.
Is there example language you might be able to share with me? Is that something that, like how would I even go about writing that up?
Sure. Yeah, we do. And that's actually in a financial sustainability guide that
Oh,
is,
okay.
yeah, coming out later this month.
Oh, great. And that will be on the website?
Yes, of course.
Okay. Okay. Well, that's good to know. I don't have to come up with something from scratch. There's some guidance around that. That's really helpful. Okay. So I will definitely make sure that my resource contributions, get baked into this financial sustainability plan. Maybe I'll take a look at those and see where I have some places for additional support, and then look at the funding opportunities, via grant or advertising or sponsorship, or subsidies. Yeah, that local employer or that regional employer might be really interested in having us, supporting us in this project, because I know a lot of their employees might benefit from this.
Totally.
So if I have any future questions, can I talk to you? Who should I reach out to?
Yeah, we have a hotline and we
Okay.
have an email, and feel free to use either of those.
Okay.
And yeah, we'll be happy to get back to you. And some of these things, yeah, are just case by case, and don't hesitate to use it.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much, Kevin, for your time. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks. Good luck. Have a good
Okay,
week.
thanks, you too. Bye.